És akkor nézhet rá, mikor cseréljünk tépet. It's November the 28th, 1995. The survivor's name is Elizabeth Samuel, Elizabeth Samuel. Her maiden name is Friedman, Friedman. My name is Edie Kalb. We're in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And the language will be English with some Hungarian. It's November the 28th, 1995. I'm with the survivor. Her name is Elizabeth Samuel. Her maiden name was Friedman. My name is Edie Kalb. We're in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The interview will be in English with some Hungarian. Can you tell me your name, please?
Elizabeth Samuel
And is that the name you were born with?
Friedman,
And what name were you born with? What was your first name?
Erzsébet,
Can you tell me where you were born, please?
Sátoraljaújhely,
And where is Sátoraljaújhely?
in Zemplén megyén, Hungary.
In Hungary. Can you spell Sátoraljaújhely for me, please?
Satoraljaújhey, L-Y.
Thank you. Where is that located, Sátoraljaújhely? Where is that close to?
It was on the Hungarian side. It was there where it was the Czechs and Czechoslovak and Hungarian border. We were living on the Hungarian side.
So then the language spoken in your home was Hungarian.
Yes.
Can you tell me your date of birth?
19th of January 24.
And were you born in Sátoraljaújhely?
Yes.
Can you tell me your father's name, please?
My father's name was Shmuel Friedman.
Shmuel Friedman.
Yes.
Your mother?
Gisela Hammerman. She was born under the name Hammerman.
Were they also born there at the same place?
Yes.
So did your family live there for many
Yes.
generations?
Generation, that's right. All the families, my grandfather and all the kids, they lived there in the same city. That was like that then. And every time we came together, we lived not far from them. We lived in the same house where his store was. He had a grocery store.
Did you have other family members living with you at the time?
No, but they lived, all the sisters, they lived, all the daughters. My grandfather had 7 daughters. All the kids, all the daughters, they were living in Újhely, not far from there. But we lived very close, in the same house where the store was, and they were not far from us, their house. So I was there every day every time. I love to live there. I loved them very much.
What did your father do for a living?
He was a salesman.
What did he sell?
Kereskedő volt.
A merchant. And he worked from this store that was in your house?
Yes, my uncles, I had 2 uncles, 2 brothers, my father's. They had a store, and he was working there.
He worked for
He
them?
worked for them, yes.
Did your mother help out as well?
My mother, no.
What kind of a woman was your mother?
She was a wonderful person. She was very clever. She was a very educated person.
What kind of education did she have?
She had, that time, because they were very religious, so they took private lessons, piano, everything, French, German. She spoke fluent German, right, German. She was a very clever, a beautiful, very clever woman. I liked her very much. She was my friend, everything, my whole life. I couldn't believe that I was be able to live without her, you know. For me was something unbelievable.
Okay. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, we were 6, 3 girls, 3 boys.
Would you be able to tell me their names?
Yes. Arnold was my brother. I was the oldest. And my sister Edith was the third. And
Can you give me
Josie.
dates of birth when you tell me? Let's start back with Arnold. Would you remember his date of birth?
I think 28 of October. And
What year?
Edith was born 29 October.
What year?
29 in December 25th or 26th, I think so, 26th. And then I had Joseph, Joseph, but we supposed to call him Joseph. And he was born 30. You know, that time the kids from one of them
Right.
married. And then I had Miklos, Beryl, was born in 32. And then I had my little sister, Judith, was born 26.
So it was a big family.
Yes. A loving family. It was, the life in the house was always love.
Was your father home all the time?
He was working. He used to wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock. He used to go to school. He was learning. He was learning with the rabbi. He was a very clever man. And then he was working. And at night time when he went to school, after daven, he used to sit till 10 o'clock. He was learning Torah.
Did your brothers learn with him as well?
They went together. Saturday afternoon, you know, he used to go over with them what they studied. That was at home in Europe, that was in religious houses. The father used to sit with the boys and went through what they were learning, and I remember very well. I remember Saturday morning when my father I used to wake up of that. He used to Sedra Marav, you know, he used to, the weekly Sedra. He had a beautiful voice. And I used to wake up with that every Saturday morning, how he used to do that. It was, you know, this is to remember these things. This Friday nights when he used to come home from shul, he used to come in right away with the prayer, Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, you know. There's something, but it goes with you all your life. And the Shabbat, after when we finished the lunch, my mother used to dance with me. She learned me how to dance. She was a woman. I couldn't believe my life without her.
Take a little water. Would you like a little water? Take a drink. Let's talk a little bit about your home life. You say you were raised in an Orthodox home.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about how your mother was able to get the meat that she needed and everything else to run a kosher home in Europe in those days.
You know, what do you mean with that? Excuse me, I didn't really understand what the question is.
You had to get meat. So where did you get the
We
meat?
used to go to the butcher, and the milk they used to bring us. What was a time when they used to bring home the milk, and then later on I used to go to the certain, I don't know, they sell the milk, brought in the fresh milk, and we used to go and pick it up every morning. I used to go, or my sister had it, and we used to bring it home. And the kosher meat we used to buy from the butchers.
There was no problem getting the kosher meat at the time?
No, and we, you know, we used to, most of the time, chicken, or at winter time we had the goose. And we used to make the,
Used to slaughter it yourselves?
no, we used to take it to the shochet.
To the shochet.
Yeah. And I hate to do that. I couldn't stand it. If I just could get away from that, I couldn't stand it. But to clean, I had to clean because, you see, I was the oldest, and somehow I was always a responsible child. Whatever my mother said for me was Kodesh. I believed in her, everything. I was a grown-up girl already, and when Anu, whatever she told me to wear, whatever, I was like, I don't know, for me was everything good, but she told me what she said, and it was sad, that's all. So I used to clean it, I used to kosher it when my mother learned me everything. What to do, how to do.
Did you bake
I
challahs
had-
with your mother too?
I baked everything, challahs, cakes. Then I was 11-year-old when she got sick.
What happened then?
For a few months, I was out from school.
You had to run the house?
Yes, that time, my little sister was in Poyabo.
Diapers.
She was in diapers, but she was a few months old. No, even not, she was about, I remember she was very, very small. A few months old.
What happened to your mother? What kind of illness did she have?
I think that time, you know, I was a little 11-year-old. Nobody told me, but later on, she had some problems with, I'm sure she had a hysterectomy.
So you stayed home from school for several months and took care of the house?
It was, I remember like it was today. It was before Purim. And I was very upset when she had to go. She went to Budapest. She was there in the hospital, Rókus Kórház. And then I was there with 6 kids. I had to cook, I had to bake, I had to wash, I had to do everything.
And you were 11 years old?
I was 11 years old. No other choice. My aunties were there, but they came in, everybody was busy with their own family. And it was, and you know, it came Pesach, and I remember, you know, I was always with my mother, how they cleaned, and I started to clean already the how do you call it, the spice. And I took out everything, and I cleaned that. When I knew that she's coming home, I wanted it should be ready for her. She shouldn't be, you know, shouldn't worry about it. It isn't ready. And it was not easy to do that.
I'm sure
That time it was, and everything had to be taken out. Everything was there not like here in plastic boxes. There was everything in wooden boxes, and it has to be because everything has to be craved out and washed and but I used to have a lot.
What were your other brothers and sisters doing at the time? Were they also helping a little bit, or?
Edith, she was a very lovely child. She was a very lovely girl. She was always full of life. But I had to wash the meaty dishes. She had to wash the dairy dishes. But when she could, she was. She just no. She wasn't the type. She wasn't the type. But. How much, she knew I am there. Somehow I was always there, and I always did it.
You took care of things.
Yeah.
Tell me about school. What school did you go to? Yeah.
Started school.
What kind of a school was that?
It wasn't the Orthodox school, because there the standard was higher than the Orthodox school. So
Your parents sent you
we
there.
went there, yes, because the boys, they were to the Heder, and the girls, they get at home from my mother. We got the Jewish education, but and that time they didn't learn, the girls didn't learn Torah like today. So the basic, what you have to know about Yiddishkeit, I got it from my mother. Everything I got from my mother.
Yeah. So, did your parents have a social life? Were they so busy that they didn't have a social life, or did they?
You see, the social life there was the family. The family was big. They came together. And it was the holidays. The Sikhs. Zaidi had the Sikh, so they lived not far from us.
Where did
We
they
were
live?
there about, what can I tell you, about four or 5 houses from us.
So he made the sukkah.
I was there. Yes, I was really, when I just had a chance. I was a big girl already, and I loved my grandfather. And you see, I said even to the kids, he was a very religious, you could see how religious he was. I was 17, 18 years old. I was walking with him on the street. I held his hand. And somehow I could see I was very proud. And he was proud too. He loved me very much.
So
I
tell
used
me
to go
about-
every Saturday morning. I mean, we made the kokosh at home, but their kokosh was for me the best. Every Saturday morning I went there for the kokosh. I had to have from Zaidi's kokosh. So you have so many things what you just can't really forget.
Kakosh is a strudel cake.
That's the tesh kalasmi.
That's the Hungarian word.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what Sukkot was like in your hometown.
Sukkot was every holiday there, because this city was a religious, really the Jews, it was 3 congregations. It was the status quo, not so religious, then the Orthodox, and it was the Sephardic. That was really religious, where we belonged. But the holidays, everybody was beautiful. You could see there was lots of stramlach, and you could see the in the air, because there were 4,690 Jews, and that was a very small city. It was about 15,000 people we had. So it was to this small city, it was a big Jewish community. And you know how many came back from that? 360. That's all
360.
who came back from that. That's all. If I'm just looking around my family, my aunties, my uncles, my cousins,
Nobody came back.
I mean just the two cousins what I have, what I show you. And two cousins from my father's side, they were in Budapest, so that's why they survived. Otherwise, they wouldn't, because they were very delicate kids. You know, somehow they didn't have to do nothing in the home. They were brought up in very good condition. I mean, they were rich, and they didn't know from the hard life. And sometimes, you know, when it comes a tragedy like that, it's good you have a little bit hard life background.
For sure.
That makes you hard to a little bit survive somehow. I saw in the lager girls who were really was like that home, nothing, you know, they didn't have no hard life background. They went fast.
Yes, those went fast.
They went very fast. They were
We'll get to that. I want to ask you a little bit more. When you were growing up, did you at all notice if your parents were politically involved in any way?
Not really. Not that type of Jewish, you know, the let's say doctors who had a little bit influence, doctors or lawyers, they had a little bit influence somewhere, but not that type of Jews. They was just learning and studying and go to shul and come home and that was in the family life. That was the life.
How about you yourself? Did you belong to any kind of organizations as you were growing up? Zionist organizations?
Not really. I just didn't have time to that. I had, you see, when I went to school even, I came home, I had somehow, like I told you, responsibilities. Was few kids in the house, and I still had to help out my mother and then study. So I can say I didn't have a childhood.
So when did you
But
first...
somehow I was happy with that. I was happy with that. And then, you know, it was Pesach, you can imagine Pesach, it was a beautiful holiday there. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, I remember very well at Yom Kippur, Erev Yom Kippur, before my father went to shul, all the kids had to go. He was benching, how do you say that, áldott, megáldott, how do you say that in English?
He was blessing.
He was
blessing the
blessing
children.
everyone child. He put a white handkerchief of our head, and we had to kiss his hand. I was a big girl, and I did it, and it was so good. See, there's something, but today you don't see it. They don't do it anymore. The kids, it's not in style anymore. Mind you, my husband did it, and I think my son does it. You are trying really to give them, to bring them a little bit from your home, to continue something
That you
little
saw
bit.
growing up, that was so wonderful.
I'm trying, and I think Kati is really, I want to tell you, she does a lot. Because she came, she didn't know much, and she really, really did it. You see, even if I would ask, if she wouldn't want it, she wouldn't do that. But she wanted herself. And really, she's doing so much for you know, the kids, they are going in Hebrew school and in kosher in the house. You should see at Pesach at her place how everything is covered, how everything is doing beautiful, how she has in the kitchen a few cupboards just Pesach dishes. So I'm trying to really give the kids what I saw at home.
It's wonderful. Okay, all right, so when did you yourself just realize that something was happening in Europe with the Jews, or Hitler was rising to power? When did you realize that this was happening? Do you remember?
We didn't, the Hungarian Jews, they didn't believe it, it will happen to them too. Because when the Czechoslovaks, they were running and the Polish were running, they came to Hungarian, through Uhel, because that was the city. And we knew already something is very bad, but nobody believed that
Nobody
it's going
believed
to happen to us too. And in March 44, 19th of March happened to us too, because they came in.
Were there some restrictions on Jews before then at all? Did you not have any
No,
restrictions?
Not till that time we didn't. It was there already quite a few Jews who came. They didn't have the citizen paper. I mean, they ran away from Czechoslovakia. Excuse me. They were taking, it was their, how do you call it? It was their, oh my God, Munkatábor.
Forced labor camp.
It's a forced labor, that's right, and I have it written down, but I forgot.
It's okay, it's okay.
But
Was your father taken away to a forced labor camp?
He was taken away in 42.
Okay.
He was taken away in 42, and that was very bad for us. Because, first of all, my mother was a sick person, and then she got, even worse. But
You still didn't believe that anything was going to happen even after?
then we knew already it's bad. Then we knew already they took it away. They took away. My father was that time 42-year-old. He wasn't a young man at that time. Today it's still not old, but that time 42-year man, it was already in the age. And we knew already. It's no good, but we didn't believe it will happen, but what happened?
Did you have any other restrictions after they took your father away? What other restrictions were there?
They were, every day you could hear something new, but really didn't affect us. Now you couldn't go to higher schools. That was the numerus clausus. It was, in the stores, the Jewish, usually they keep the stores closed Saturdays and holidays. But they didn't allow them in the last 2 years already.
Restrictions, and what happened then in May of 44?
May of 44, the Germans came in. Actually, in March they came in,
Okay.
19th of March. And then right after it started the big Soros. We had to wear the yellow
Star.
Yellow star, my God. And the restriction, we couldn't go out night. And I remember the last Pesach. It was terrible. Father came home from the shul. And
He was home from the labor camp by
Yeah,
then?
at that time he already, before that, they let him come home already. They knew already what's going to happen. They let him home, and he brought with him always he brought someone home from the shul. It was an older man. He put on the kettle, sat to the table. He was crying. The whole Seder, just crying. And he knew what's going to happen.
What did he think was going to happen? What did he say?
Because we heard already, you see, we had lots of relatives in Czechoslovakia, in Czech. And we got some letters from them. We are sitting here in Majdanek on our packles, and we don't know what's going to be our fate. So we knew already something is going on very bad. And you could hear here and there something, it's very bad coming. And it was very bad. And in the middle of Pesach already, they were starting to talk about ghetto. And we didn't have even time we used to put away our Pesach dishes. Nobody touched it. And they took us to the ghetto. And there the life was, so many people said from whole Zemplén megye they brought in all the Jews.
I want to first of all know from your family.
It's 15 April.
I want to know from your family who went to the ghetto with you, from your family.
My mother, father, my four sister and brother. My only Arnold was in Budapest that time.
He was living in Budapest?
He was a young boy then, but he was there, and he went. After when we find each other, he said that he bought us Goyish papers, and he came back. He was risked his life. He came back. He went where we used to live, and there the super. She said, "But you are back. I'm going to tell the how do you call it, the police." He didn't even, he didn't have a chance to come in. He had to run away. He spent all his money to buy us paper, and he couldn't.
By that point, you'd been taken away anyway to the ghetto, right?
That was almost 1 or 2 days before. But my father he wanted to go out from the ghetto, try to get out. He was dressed already like a Hungarian Parost,
Yeah.
And my mother said, "No, I don't want to leave my father. I don't want to leave my sister. Whatever is going to happen to them, I want to be with them." And that's what had happened. Otherwise, maybe we could be alive. Whatever.
So which ghetto did they take you to?
We had.
In Újhely. Do you remember the name of the street and where?
I think that was I really don't know what it was. That Arpad Utsa and all. You see, I showed to you where was the ghetto.
What did you do there?
What did I do? Actually, in the Stadtschule school, we put up a hospital where from Zemplén megye they brought in the sick people. So in the hospital they didn't have place for them. It was in Újhely, it was a Jewish hospital, but they didn't have place for them. It was a lot. So it was there a hospital. They made from the school a hospital. And I was, actually I wasn't a real nurse. I mean, I wasn't just there. I went through a fast course, and I was a nurse there. I was working there day and night. I remember one night they brought in a girl. She was so sick, and I we had to lift them up, that wasn't elevator there. So Anna Lumko lift them out, and how shall I tell you, all of a sudden I start to blood, yes, some breed valami kis megtörhetett nekem.
Burst blood vessel.
Yes.
So you
Then I
started
was at home a few
vomiting blood?
days, yes, and I was at home a few days, then I was a little bit better. My mother took me there, was a doctor, and anyway, there were Nissims. That was sometimes
Nissim
so
is a
many
miracle.
cool things happen. I had lots of problems with my kidney when I was a young girl. I wouldn't believe it I will survive in the concentration camp, and that, you see.
So did your other siblings have any work in the ghetto as well? Were they also working in this hospital, or just you?
No, they were lots of girls. I mean, a few girls from, I know, that's not my sister.
But not your brothers or your sister?
No, she was at home with my mother and my brother and sister and my father. It was a very sad
what did you eat
we
there?
had one room for all of us. I mean, it wasn't alive, and we weren't how many, but I don't think in 15th and April and 22 in May already they took us. That was a terrible, something terrible. When we marched through the city with the little packet on our back. And the goyim, they were just looking at us. That was, you didn't feel, I don't know if I felt ashamed, no, I don't know. I was sad, I was broken. And everyone was broken and crying. And we knew already something terrible going to happen.
Did you have any idea
But
where you were going?
one thing was, and I read it myself. There was a labor force, a camp in Uyhel with Jewish boys. And I got, because like I told you in the interview, once they took us out for the hospital to go to the Jewish homes and to bring for the hospital blankets and pillows. Vegyem el ezt innen. And that time I got from one of them a letter, which was written that they are taking away the youngs and the young boys and girls to a labor camp there, and the family is going to be together. Okay, so that was what we knew. It was Kastner's business. Kastner, if you heard about him, he was from Kolozsvár, from Cluj. And he was working together with the Germans to help them out, to let them a few hundred Jewish from Hungary to send them to Schweiz, including his family. That was the name, but they find the name was Kenyérmező. There they are going to take us. So you see, we thought we are going to work. It took us a little bit easier on our, so I said, Anyu, te meg apu, you will stay, at home, and we are going to work, and we will be together, and somehow it will be okay. We didn't know that that's not true. Just they wanted to us, to make it them easy, not to try to do something or to try to run away or to...
Well, they thought they were going to cause panic then.
Yes. Then they took us to the Status Schule. We were there days, and 22nd of May, the wagon started to run. And that was terrible. 60, 70, 80 people in a family. My auntie had, you see, we were like this. We were with my auntie and with my grandfather, with two aunties. And then this only one sister who wasn't healthy, my auntie. We don't know where she got lost. Which wagon did she let pushed in somewhere, they pushed her in somewhere. She lost the family because she wasn't with the other family members with her. I asked after the lager, I asked them, did she was with you or, this cousin, the two cousins. I asked them, did she was with you? And who knows, she was starving already on the wagon, on the train.
What was this auntie's name?
Böschke.
Böschke? And her married name?
That was, pardon?
Her married name?
She wasn't married.
What was her name, her last name?
Last name was Hammerman.
She was a Hammerman girl.
Yes, she was the youngest.
So who else was on this transport with you?
It was my mother, father, my sister, brother.
The whole family?
And the whole family, and my auntie with the three little babies. But she had a few weeks old baby. She was born before the Germans came in.
Who was that auntie? What was her name?
Toby,
What was
the
her?
striker.
And do you remember the baby's name? And they never.
I was there, when I was, at that time I was helping out
Right.
for her when she was born, baby, but I don't remember. I remember the first child, it was Sipike, but I don't remember them.
And they also never came back. So how long were you on
And
the
then
train?
that was terrible because water wasn't enough. And the baby was crying terrible. She was hungry. It was so, somehow it goes in your heart, the baby's crying, you can't help, you can give the mother in her milk. Water wasn't enough.
And food?
And my grandfather was praying. I remember they prayed because it was for Schwers. It was Schwers, and they were praying. And he was crying, so everybody was crying. The situation was terrible then. And they dare to open the wagon and ask you if you want to have something still with you, something. I took with me, I had a watch, what I got for my brother, for my birthday, Arnold. And somehow I didn't give it in the ghetto. I took it with me. So my mother please give it to them. I give it to them.
Who did you give it
Till
to?
the last minute, they just, everything,
Who did you give it to?
to a German. When they opened the wagon.
Why did you give it to him?
Because my mother said, Anjuci, they called me Anjuci. Anjuci. Oda neki, ne činaj zores magadno.
Give it to him. Don't make yourself trouble.
Yeah,
Did other people also come forward with
really
him?
doesn't, really, I was somehow, I dare to do that. It was hard for me to, I didn't have much jewelry that time, I didn't have jewelry. But that I was very happy with that, I got it from my brother.
Did the train stop anywhere? Do you remember
In
if it did?
Kassa.
In Kasha?
Then the Germans took over. Actually, that happened before the Germans took over the Hungarian gender, they asked for it.
The Hungarian gendarmes took your watch.
Oh, they were in the ghetto too. They were sometimes worse than the Germans. ambulance.
So where did the train finally stop?
Auschwitz. It
How
was
did you know?
terrible.
How did you know you were in Auschwitz?
They said.
They said. Did you see something? A sign?
We arrived and we could see that sign too, and we arrived there, it was dark, and we saw just flames, 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 like the whole egg, how do you say, I don't know already. Egg, you know,
A
the
fire.
whole pan,
Fire.
yeah, not the flame, it was that like the whole
The sky.
sky would burn. And we saw just flames. And then all of a sudden, somehow, my father was with the boys. And he ran back, and I asked, where are the boys? Because he said, the men have to go separate. Then he started to kiss us, and he kissed. And when he came to my little sister, she loved very much my father. And she started to cry. I asked her, why are you crying? She said, I have a feeling I won't see you again. I'm sorry, but I can't. Then we went like that, my sister, my mother, and I had, a shawl of my head, and my little sister and I hold, my mother and my little sister, and I hold her hand. They thought, because I was a tall girl, and in the dark, they thought they sent my mother on left, my sister on right, and they thought she's my daughter, because I was a tall girl, and I was dressed like, like a candle family. So, and then somehow life is beshet. And in a normal way, I wouldn't leave my mother. No way. But this letter, what I read in the ghetto, that the youngest they are sending to work. I automatically stand to my sister's side. I left my mother with my sister. Then my sister, it was a crowd. My sister went, she was crying, and my mother was standing there and looking after us. And I yelled back to her, I said, Anyu, menjél, mert meg fognak verni.
Mother, go or they're going to beat you.
Go because they are going to beat you. And we were crying. All of a sudden, I somehow put my hand in my pocket. I had a coat in her medicine, because she was sick. Her medicine, I had it with me. And only one auntie, Tubi, was the one who could really handle her when she wasn't well. And me. And I said, oh my God, what's going to happen? She doesn't have the medication, she doesn't have the... Who knew she won't need the medication anymore? Who knew that? Then we came, already to the bath. We had to undress, to give everything.
So who was with you then? I mean, your mother was gone?
Yeah, just Edith.
Just one sister?
Yes. Then we had to undress. They started to yell there and to beat us up.
And they started to shave us. We didn't recognize each other. We didn't recognize each other. I got a very thin dress. I don't even know what if I had shoes. I don't remember.
At that point, did you know
Oh, actually,
anything?
they left me to wear my own shoes, but it's gone very fast because the weather was there terrible. And then I was without.
So I was asking you if you, at that moment, did you have any idea what was happening?
Yeah,
Did
already.
anybody tell you anything?
Nobody said nothing, just yelling and yelling. And then they took us to the camp, the Zehllager, that's called the Zehllager Vernichtungslager. There we didn't work. It was a lager where they selected people. We used to stand up, and sometimes they came the Germans. I can imagine it was Mengele. And we had to undress. We were 1,150 girls in one block. So we had to go one by one and bend down, and we were looking you, how developed you are. And I always sent my sister ahead of me. I thought they will send her. We knew already they are sending someone away, it goes to a blood place. They will send me too, you know. I always send my sister ahead of me, but somebody was always watching above us. And well, somehow she was developed very nicely. And with God's help, we went through the whole, every time everybody was shaking what's going to happen, who's going to go now. That was the Zehllager. It wasn't an Arbeitlager.
Strictly a selection lager,
It was fun.
just for selection.
Yes. We weren't working there. We were sitting the whole day in the morning, early in the morning. We had to stay up hours and hours. Summertime, we used to faint there. It was so hot. And then all of a sudden came the rain. It was impossible, wind and rain. And we had just a thin dress. So we used to stand 5 in a row. So who was the last, got the last one on his back. The middle one, who was in the middle, was a little bit warm. And once I was very sick, my kidney was bothering me very much, and I felt I have fever. And I took a blanket and I put one on my sister. And we were, by the end of 1,150, and all of a sudden the blockade, she was a Czechoslovak Jewish girl. She went through, they were already there 3 or 4 years ahead of us. She was yelling us, you know, you came already to a castle. We built that for you. The first day the upper, she was telling us, you see there the smoke, there is your parents, your sisters, your brother are burning. We started to cry. Everybody was crying. It was terrible. And we just couldn't believe it. Then she showed to us, she said, you see, pieces were really beaten out from her legs. That was the SS dog who bited her. But next to us was a Czechoslovak camp. There still were families together, older people, younger people, I mean families. You see, they were working to make you crazy. You should think their families together somewhere. All of a sudden one night we heard terrible, but day by day we saw less older people, less children. And all of a sudden One night it was terrible, yelling and crying. Then we started to make noises. The Germans started to yell at us, and they were, how do you call it, level the stick.
They were shooting.
Yeah. In the morning, the camp was empty. You had the feeling like somebody dead. It was completely empty. Then we knew it's already terrible. A day before, you see, in Auschwitz, a piece of bread was a big thing. I didn't have shoe, and they already sold things, So my piece of bread for a day, I threw them over, and they threw me over a pair of shoes. I was barefoot. I didn't have what to wear.
Did you see lots of people trading food for other things?
Not really, because the food there, we got a piece, that's all what we got there. That's a piece of bread. And in the morning we got black coffee. And for lunch we had, like, what can I tell you? It was it would be full with, how do you call it, sand. That was a soup. And it was so salty, and I couldn't eat that because my kidney was killing me. And I went to the girl, I said to her, please, don't give me lunch, give me a little bit more coffee in the morning because I was burning. She threw that to me, she said, no, go to your place. I didn't eat the lunch. I couldn't. Sorry, I forgot. I shouldn't touch.
So how long were you there in this
And
part
you know
of
what
Auschwitz?
happened when I took this, I'm going back, she wanted to, I'm going back with the blanket. So she, all of a sudden, in a weather like that, it was terrible weather, all of a sudden, she wants to make a blanket control. I knew it already. We were in the last, really in the last night, and to wait till everybody, she's going through everybody, looking everybody's under the dress. I knew what's going to happen. So we came, and she catched us. She put it on the side us, and she threw out the girls from her block. There was a 30, it was a block 32. I think so, it was a terrible block. A few days when we came, we were there. They didn't have their beds, nothing, just on the floor. So she wanted to throw us out. What happened?
Okay, you'll finish 1 minute.
I went back as soon. And then she put us on the side. She wanted to really, she was beating everybody who had a gun. And somehow I pushed my sister. I said, go to your place. So all of a sudden she says she's going. I said, what do you want from her? She doesn't have anything on her. I had the blanket on. So she let her go. I didn't want her to get beaten.
Did she beat you?
Oh, yeah. She was beating me good on my back, and she wanted to throw me out from the block. And there in this block, she didn't have to lie on the floor, so I was begging her to let me stay there. And she, if you think I just couldn't even be mad at her because she was suffering so much there. She was a very intelligent girl. When she was in a good mood, who could be there in a good mood? But when she was normal, she used to tell us stories. She used to sing. She was a very nice person. But every day, they came every morning and every evening. up hours and hours to stand. It was very bad at winter time. I mean, it was, actually at winter we weren't there already.
What happened then? Like,
Then
tell
it
us where you
was-
went after
Yes, it was about in August, I think, end of July or August. First of all, we were on Blocksperre. That meant we couldn't go out from the block. Not for Appel, not for nothing. We were closed in the block. So, excuse me, we couldn't go out to the toilet. So there was in the back a small room. And a few piles that was the toilet for 1,150 girls. And they had there like a vibe, I don't know how do you say it. It was like a long bath tub, and the dishes they washed in there. The food was, we got one plate, 7 girls had to drink from that. We didn't have spoons, we didn't have nothing. So everybody was having a shuk. If somebody was swallowing 2, I said, why did you drink 2? So anyway, these dishes was washed in there. I was so sick, I was burning from fever. I went in, I was drinking from this dirty water, drinking, and they was yelling, you are going to get typhus, I didn't care less because I was burning inside from fever. And in a normal situation, you would get sick from it. But somehow, again, I say, my parents was watching about me.
I want to ask you about when you talk about miracles. Were you praying when you were there at all?
Yes, we knew we knew anesthesia bath.
How did you know?
Somehow we figured it out. We knew when came Ishvias, we counted the time, and we knew we were fasting.
You fasted on
It
Yom
wasn't,
Kippur?
oh yes, it wasn't so hard to fast because you were anyway hungry. From that piece of nothing, really.
But still, even to give up that little piece of nothing is hard when you're
But we
starving.
were fasting. And then
Were other girls also
I had my
praying?
cousins with me. We were, what I really forgot to say when we arrived to Auschwitz, I'm going back. We were there, my cousins, 2 cousins, my sister and me. They were standing behind us. We didn't recognize each other, just from the voice, because everybody was shaved out. And then that was last time when we saw my father. He had already that time problem with his finger. He had gangrene there. But this time I didn't know. Just now I know, I figured it out what really was the problem. That he couldn't walk and was toes, the brother-in-laws from the 2 sides, they were helping for him, and he was yelling to us, kids, be good, listen what they are telling you to do. That was his last word to us. That was it. I didn't see him from that time. He was a very good father.
So what happened after this lager? Where did you go?
After that, we were, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks, it was this Blocksperre. At night, all of a sudden, they wake us up. And they send us away. We were walking quite a while, and then we arrived to a bath. So we didn't know that the same time they could put on the gas.
It was
So
a bath?
it was like a big bath. How do you call it? A fjorder.
Oh.
It's like the crematorium. They had
Like a spa. It was
it's
almost like a spa.
Yeah, it's a spa. They had that was a big room. A few hundred people could go in there.
Okay. Where was this? Do you know?
It was in Auschwitz. It was in Auschwitz. So
Do you know what it
then
was
we
called?
had a pardon?
Do you know what it was called? The name of the place?
No,
No.
because it was there in Auschwitz. It wasn't further away. No, it was
Okay.
there. And then they give us a bread and give us a pair of shoes and a dress. I remember I got a black dress. And in the morning, the blockade tester, you know, the Czechoslovak girl saw us through the wires. She was crying. She said, "Oh, girls, I'm so happy to see you. I thought they are ready. They took you to the gas chamber." So then they took us to Germany. They need a few hundred girls there, you know. So we arrived to Kaufering in Germany.
What
This
did,
was
what,
Lager
what did they take
4.
you there for? Lager 4?
That was Lager for Kaufering.
Was that a working lager?
Yes, we were working there. We were digging bores, and then one day they said that the camp has to be divided. The people coming in, men are coming in, and a group from Warsaw, men, they came. So everybody started ask for the relatives. Did you see this? Did you see them? One of them told me they saw my uncle Rozhika's husband, but he never came.
So at this point, what time of the year was this? Do you remember at all?
That was at 44, still at 44.
Where, late in the year? Near the
Pardon?
winter? Was it in the winter or?
It was winter.
It was in the winter.
Already started. It was cold.
How was your physical condition by then with your kidney problems? Were you
It wasn't
obviously-
so bad. That wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. Like
Did
it
you
was.
have lice? Did you have lice?
Oh yes, we got lice, and we used to stand outside by light, and we used to kill them. That was really, really bad. But you know, the men were much worse. We, even when it was snowing, we went outside and then we washed ourselves in snow. But the men, they really died from typhus. Somehow the women hold themselves, they were stronger. I think maybe we weren't physically, mentally, we were stronger. They just didn't know, they lost themselves. Okay? I remember that was already in Lager 1. And one night they took us over to Lager 1. It was a terrible night. It was so bad, I wanted to give up and I didn't want to walk anymore. It was raining. It was terrible. And I said to my sister, Edith, that's it, I don't want to go. I just don't want to go, she said. And I was always the strongest. I was the one who was always worrying about her, but this time she was the one. Said, Anyusi, you have to come and you will come, and she pushed me really. So we arrived to the camp. That was the first place where we got something normal to eat. I won't forget the soup. The soup was so good. I'm sure today wouldn't be that good, but that time it was a warm soup. And like if it would, vanilla in it in some noodles. So that's it. And then they put us in barracks. It was raining in the barracks. Who cared about it? We lied in the wet, on the wet floor. But somehow our stomach was full. So our stomach was full, then and you were tired. Wherever you are, you fell asleep.
What did they want with you in this Lager Eins? What was it for?
There, that was a Arbeitslager. They were working there.
What did you do
The
there?
men, they were working in malls. They were carrying blocks, and there they built in, how do you call it, forest. They built a factory.
They were building a factory?
Yes, for the Germans. Right. So every
Do you know what kind of a factory?
Pardon?
Have any idea what kind of factory?
I think just ammunition.
Munitions factory.
Not to the just for chemical things like that. That was their goal, more and more.
And what were you
Ammunition.
doing there?
I was, so of tomorrow morning, the Lager commando came and he made an apple. There were already 200 Litou's girls there. How do you say in English?
Litvak.
Litvak girls there. And they were working in the kitchen. So when we arrived, we were in a very good condition. I can imagine if this German commando put both of us in the kitchen. And the Litvak girl took us out because she wanted to have her own girls there. Then he took, it went on 3 or 4 times like that. Then the commando was yelling at her, if I put them there, they are going to stay there. So we were working there, peeling potatoes. Then after a while, but it wasn't easy because these girls was really picking up because we were 2 Hungarian girls in the, how is that, the Litvak girl, but you know, never Polish and Hungarian and Litvak, they never could mix. So they made a little bit, always digging in. But after a while, after 2 months, I think a few weeks, my sister, they sent out to the mall every morning, and they sent to Landsberg every morning. We used to go in actually this lager was Lager Eins in Landsberg already. So every morning we used to go to the city, and there I was peeling potatoes again, then already for the Wehrmacht. Like I told you, maybe I peeled very well potatoes, that's why they choose me to peel potatoes.
So you actually worked for them personally?
Yes, and then I could bring home, you know,
At least you had a little bit of food.
I took my food and I brought it home for my sister. So one day, I remember this very well, we got from the Red Cross a package. It was sardines in there and conserved milk. That was something more. But these two I remember very well because what happened, the man, you know, I was very careful with it. I give for my sister always a little bit and a little bit from the milk because I knew that we are very much down and that could happen, a tragedy from it. So I really was watching her because she would eat it at once, the whole thing.
She gets sick.
But the men, they eat it at once. They were falling like, what can I tell you? It was terrible. It was terrible. Never, they died so many there. It was like a how shall I say, halom, no? Hogy mondják? Fall on the morning with dead. They killed each other. They killed themselves with
The
that.
gluttony for the
yes,
food.
from the food. All of a sudden, the sardines in the air, and the kosher milk was very sweet. You know, and
Condensed milk, yeah. Through it all, as this time was progressing, what was going through your mind at that time? Like, did you and your sister ever talk about what is happening to you, or are you going to make it, or what?
We hoped. We just, you know, took day by day between. It was Pesach. It was, you know, Somehow at night, there was in our block was a mother and a daughter from Hust,
From where?
from Karpatoja, from Hust. And they were fighting always. We were so jealous. She has the mother with her.
Even if they were fighting.
And we were jealous. Only person who has a mother with her. And they were fighting, and they were yelling at each other. They were, how do you call it? Átkozták, no,
Jealous, cursing.
cursing each other. It was so terrible. It went so far, then the Germans wanted to separate them, to send one of them to another lager. It was very bad, but between us, we were very tired, very down. We used to talk between us with the other girls, and they were, were girls who were there with the couples already. They
You saw
started,
them,
and at night, monkey
Did they
business.
get better food because they were doing all monkey
But
business?
they came in at night to the girls. I know a few of them. But it was, don't forget already the Germans felt the
Something
end
was
was
happening.
coming. So they were already a little bit easier on the people.
So tell me, when were you liberated? What happened? How did it happen?
And what I would really like to tell you already, because they know what's going to happen, there were a few pregnant mothers.
Some pregnant girls that were still...
No, they were married, but they were pregnant. They were already in the 7th, 8th month. The last months, the Germans, give them food. They were separate in a separate block. I don't remember how many it was, 7 or 8. Matter of fact, if you know Miriam, how do you call it, the Israeli, you know her.
Yes.
Her son was
Was
born
born
there.
in there. I heard that story.
I
yeah.
was with her there.
Really?
And
Yes,
I
there
was
was at least one child born there in Kent.
not
Well,
one,
there
all of them
at
they were
least
born
one.
there. She was
Yeah?
the last one who was and she was so long in labor, and I was so sorry for her. I went all the time to the window to see if she's already over. She was suffering, but all the girls they had there, the babies, they were separate. They brought for the babies for the mothers before the children were born. Brought them bread, brought them milk. I mean, and they didn't send them out. They were working in the laundry room. I mean, they were in a better. They were looking after in a way. They knew it already. In January, February, they knew already that's the end of them. So they wanted to be, that they should say, oh,
They were
this
nice to us.
Lagerführer here was a very good man. And he was a nice person, nice than the Kommandoführer. He was terrible. You know what happened to me at Kölnlider night? I was standing out. I was the only, I don't know from where did I got a little cider. And the whole camp is still. I am Anyuci standing. It was a light. And I am standing and davening. All of a sudden, the Kommandoführer is appearing. What are you doing here? From where did I get? From where did you get it? And I don't remember what I said. This part I don't really. One thing I knew, he took it away from me, the siddur, and he let me go back to the barak. He could take me away, like it happened, you know what happened to the little girl. When we arrived already, we saw a little girl had her, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth,
It's
but
okay. No,
sometimes it comes,
It's okay.
her head was shaped just on top of her head like a kippah was left hair. So we asked what happened.
they cut her with a German Häftling. He was a German, but he was a communist, so he was in camp too. But he was a German. How dare she lie down with a Jewish girl? So what happened? They took the girl to Dachau for a trial, and they hanged her. Okay, but now he could do for me Tzores too. When he cut me with the cedar, I don't remember from who. How did I got that? And how did I dare to do that? The whole camp is nice and quiet. Nobody's outside. I am alone, standing under a light in Dublin. It was Kolni Drenai.
Very brave.
I don't know if I was brave. Maybe just I was religious in believing. I don't think I'm not so a brave person. And I'm telling you. Sometimes you do things without thinking. Maybe because if I would think, I don't think I would do that. Because nobody, there were, half of the camp were men. Half of the camp were men.
Could be that sometimes you go past fear already. You know, it's already been so much that you're past the fear of it.
That I don't care. I
That you
don't
don't care.
I don't care what's going to happen. That could be too, because, yeah, that could be. But I just don't know how I dare to do that.
So let's get to liberation then. So when were you liberated and by whom?
Now we, in April, already because the Americans was on this side. So they are, they're close. So they send us for a march. We were walking and walking and walking. The mothers were staying and the sick people were staying. They left them in camp. But we, the men and the girls, they sent us away with the Wehrmacht. So never the men who couldn't, they give up easier than us. They shot them. And we were marching and lying outside at night in the ditches, wherever, we didn't care less. We were so tired, wherever. Then one day we arrived to Dachau. And we arrived to Dachau and they put us in a room, but like sardines. All of a sudden, one of the girls started to yell, "Kids, we are in the crematorium." We started to yell, and what's got here all of a sudden was an alarm. And the Germans were running away, and they didn't have a chance to close the doors on us. We pushed the doors. It was a very heavy door. We pushed the door out, and that's how we survived from there.
So you just
So,
ran.
yes, we ran out from there, and then they didn't took us back there. One night we spent there, and they sent us further. Again, we were marching, and then between it was the air raid, and the Germans were running, and they left us there. We didn't kill us. We were happy. We were lying in the snow because they sent us up to the Alps. So we left in April. It was nice already there, but there was snow. So we were lying on the snow, but somehow we didn't care less. We were happy to hear the air raid, and they were running. They didn't let us run, but they were running. So then we arrived to Buchberg. It was already, I think, April the 28th or 27th. But the Germans already, just a few were in the camp, and all of a sudden, a day before, what is that? In May the 1st was the liberation for us. We didn't know that time who died. who's in life. Didn't know nothing. We knew just each other. We are in life. That's all.
And where did you go?
So we were there for a few weeks. Then they sent us to München. We were there. I really can't tell you how long. A few weeks again. And then one day came, so they are from there already started to Aliyah. That was the first Aliyah to Israel that was going. And somehow we got into it. But they have to take us from Germany to Italy. So then comes in, it has to, everything had to go black, schwarz, because they took us illegal.
And who was paying for this? Who was taking care of this?
Already I can imagine the joint. I can imagine it was in Jewish hands already, or the joint, yeah. And then
You got to Israel.
They took us to Bari, and there I met on the way. I leave that for my husband, how we met. Let him enjoy it because he enjoys it.
So where did you
Then
go?
we went to Bari. We stayed there a few weeks, and from there they took us to where did we? We went to Modena first. We were staying there for a few weeks, and then from there to Bari. There was the, from there we went already to the ship.
Okay.
Okay.
Went to Israel.
Yeah, that was a military boat took home the American soldiers, and it was on that from Schweiz the legal transport, and we were 200 girls, illegal girls on it. Actually, not a few, and we arrived to Athlete.
Athlete, yes.
Yes, in Israel. And who came with legal papers, they let them out. And we were already in a lager, a camp. It was a terrible feeling. And it was like that 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, the Haganah came to
So
take
for
us
6
out.
weeks you were still
Yes, we were, yes, in
in
Athlete.
bad conditions.
So what they did with this, British soldiers, they bind them up, they bind them the mouth, and they came and they cut the wires, they took us out, and we went, it was a kibbutz Yavne, it was on the hilltop. So at night we were walking up there, all of a sudden somehow one of them was able to get out from that I don't know how, maybe he wasn't backward way or so
Tied up.
somebody tied up, and anyway they started already to shoot, but we arrived there. In the morning they took my sister away and me to different places because we were illegal, so it has to be everything shah still. In the morning we saw each other again at the Sochnut, and they sent her to a kibbutz to study like a school, and me to Ramat Yochanan, to a kibbutz. That was the name of the kibbutz. That was outskirts of Haifa. And I was there a few months. Then my mother's cousin let to know I am there, so they came to see me. I didn't know them. They were in Israel already years, so I don't know, 30 years they went to Israel. And they took me out from there, and I was there at their place. I got married from there.
You met your husband there?
I met my husband the way to Israel.
On the way
From
to-
München, because
On the
he came
boat?
to pick his up. No, he came to pick up his father. München, he took his father with him. So he will tell you.
So you got married in Israel?
I got married in Israel in 46, September 15th,
So where did you live when you got married?
in Givatayim,
And how long did you live in Israel?
15 years.
Did you like it there?
I loved it. Till today I am loving it.
Why
My
did you
whole-
leave it?
I want to tell you, I am there. I just lost Victor, my son. You know, I paid very much, dearly for that I came here because for me, Israel, I said I was crying. I didn't want to come. I said, we lost so much. I paid, in every Jew paid for it. It cost 6 million Jews' life.
That's right.
I didn't want to leave.
Why did you leave it?
My husband said to 5 years. Then we had the 5th year like the Russians had the 5 year.
That's not
You
doing it.
have to love. But somehow,
So I understand you have 2 sons. Can you
yes.
tell me about your sons a little bit?
They are both doctors. One is a plastic surgeon.
What's his
Other-
name?
Ephraim, Shmuel Ephraim. Steve, yes, when we came here, he got Stephen. But,
And when was he born?
pardon?
When was he born?
He was born in 48, May, 29th of May,
In Israel.
in Israel. The kids were born in Israel.
And your other son is? His name is?
Oded Shmuel. And
He was born when?
Pardon?
He was born when?
In Israel. He was born in 53, October 27.
So when did you come to Canada? And
Yeah.
why?
Why? I told you somehow my husband wanted to come. He thought maybe it will be easier. We came in 60s. That was hard for me very much, you know. In the beginning, the kids were, Ephraim was terrible. I was already in a situation, I said, I'm going to send the child back. Because in that time, you know, from the time I was married and the kids were born, they were all kids after concentration camp. Everybody was there like that, you know, the same age, and that was like 2 houses for one, you know, how do you call it? Like outside it was egg bejárat.
One
know?
entrance.
One entrance, and the kids were always in Israel. The kids were outside. They were going to the kindergarten there together in the same school, in the same class. So when they made their homework, they were yelling to each other through the windows, and I mean the child missed that more than the relatives. I want to have my friends. He was yelling, I want to have my friends, I want to have my friends, and my heart was breaking. I thought I'm going to send him back somehow, you know. And the little one, Oded was that time 6 years when we came here, 6.5, and he's a type who's like the mother, holding everything inside. He was quiet. And I at night, I was crying. After, when everybody lied down, I closed myself in the room and I was crying. So it was very harsh.
Did your husband,
I wasn't happy at all.
was your husband happy here?
He right away find a job at Massey Ferguson. He was a very good welder. And they loved him very much because his knowledge was very good. He knew what he does. He did, and for him, he was happy.
And now you've both retired,
Yes, yes,
and your children both live in Toronto?
yes, both of them. One is the other one is a plastic surgeon, like I said, and the other one is a family doctor and the emergency doctor. So
So we're going to be meeting them later on. I want to ask you what...
yes, just one thing. I want to tell them
if it, you know, I did it, this tape, I did it for them.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
I did it for them, not for me, because they live with me all the time. They are like a cloud above my head. I have it here in my heart. So I did it for them, to see what happened to us, and to show it to their kids, and to their kids that should go from generation to generation. That shouldn't happen again.
That's right. That's right. And what do you want to say to your grandchildren? They're going to be watching this. What do you want to say to them?
They should learn from that. And whenever they see such a thing, or whatever they have a feeling is going to happen, they should, I would send them to Israel right away, but never ever let that happen again.
It's true. Thank you very, very much.
Welcome, thank you. I was fighting, I am telling you the truth, I was fighting against that very much, but my son said, Nima, you have to do that for the kids. So, but you don't do for the kids. You do everything for them because that's your life. That's all what we have. You know, I don't want to talk to them because I want to leave them a little bit on the tape.
This is my grandmother. And the picture was taken in Uyhel, but I don't remember when she was born. I was 7 years old when she died.
What was your grandmother's name?
Cili.
Cili.
Zipporah
And her last name?
Hammerman. This is my beloved grandfather. I loved him very much. He was a very, very sweet man. Everybody loved him. At the shul, at Sukkot, he used to give out candles for the kids and how do you call it? Not zászlók. I don't know.
Flags. Flags.
Flags. And all the time he had sugar and his candies in his packet. The kids they used to love him. They used to run to him. He all the time gave them candies. Everybody loved him. The kids.
What was his name?
That was his name, Sholem
Sholem what?
Hammerman.
Do you have any idea where this was taken?
And we have, just in we have.
About when?
This I really can't tell you, but I think it must be taken because I see he has already white beard. It must be taken in the 30s. He came with us, he was with us on the way to Auschwitz in the ghetto and on the way to Auschwitz. He came with us, we were together and he was crying very much there. It was Shavuot.
And then you
It was
never saw
very-
him again after Auschwitz?
No. This is my dear mother, whom I loved very much.
Her name?
Her name is Gisela Hammerman, was born Hammerman. If I look at her, she lives with me.
When was this taken?
Oh, she was that time engaged. She told me it was her engagement picture. She was 22-year-old.
And did she come back from Auschwitz? No.
Okay, from left to right is my auntie. The name is Rozsika Churineni. She went to the concentration camp with the 5 kids. She never came back. The next one is Honor. She's the only one who survived the concentration camp. She went before the tragedy to England. So she's the only one. She passed away 10 years ago. The next to her is Tubi with 3 kids. She went to Auschwitz. She never came back. Next to her is Irene. She had only one child. She never came back. And there is Beshke. She wasn't married. She never came back either.
These pictures
So-
were taken when they were young girls?
They were young girls, yes. They weren't, none of them was married that time.
Do you know when this was taken?
That must be taken, I think, about 32.
In
About
Uyghur?
30 in Uyghur. This is, the background is my grandfather's house. That's, okay, the background is my grandfather's house. This picture is my auntie Frida, Fridoneni, we used to call her. And from left to right is Herschel Tuchman. He never came back. Then is Peru Tuchman. She's in life. And next to her is Gitu Tuchman. They too are survived. Then is the little boy, Mendele. He never came back. And then Brandu. She didn't came back. The little one, I want to tell you, I forgot her name.
That's okay, that's
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
Now, who is this lady to you? What
That was
relation?
my auntie, my mother's sister.
And do you know when this was taken and where?
That mustn't be taken about 35. Yes, about, they were, I can see, she was about, it was at 35, 34 in Uyghur. I don't remember the name. From left to right, kids, you recognize me. I am sure that's your dear grandmother look awful here, but that's me. Then that's your great-grandfather. It's my dear father, whom I loved.
His name?
His name is Shmuel Friedman. Then my sister, Edith Zilike, whom I love. She's in Israel. Thanks God she's in life. She was with me in concentration camp. And that's my little brother, Berele, Miklos. She never came back. This is my little sister, Judith. Daniela, you named after her. She was a beautiful, clever girl. We loved her very much. She was the youngest. Everybody was loving her, around her. She never came back. Okay, from left to right is my uncle, husband of Irene, Geller, Lajos, and then is Irene, her wife, Geller, Irene, then my grandfather, Hammerman, Shalom Hammerman, then his wife Paula, then Bözike, my auntie, then Toby, my auntie, and her husband, Moishe Streicher, then Honor Hammerman, and Sidike, that's a cousin from there. It's a family picture that was taken by, it was the Sheva Brochas, the two young couples got married, 1 week, and the Sheva Brochas was the same.
And that the date of that is?
And 35,
And where?
and we have. That was in the same, this is my grandfather's
Yard?
garden, yeah. You can see it, but the background, the house. Okay, from left to right is Bözike Samuel. Actually, that's the second wife of my father-in-law. He got married before us, 6 weeks before us. And above is one of our friends whom we were through the lager, went through the lager, then my sister who lives in Israel, then my sister-in-law who lives in Israel, then my husband's cousin. The name is, you wanted to have the name? Okay, then Rachi. I said Edith is my sister, and this is Rachi, my sister-in-law. And then Pinkas, that's my husband's cousin, who passed away not long time ago. Then my dear father-in-law, who passed away.
What was his name?
His name was Yechiel Samuel. And my dear husband, Rechike, Admir Vesrim, and me myself.
And
So
who's-
I'm sure
and
you
who's
know
on the
me
far?
kids.
And who's on the far end?
Pardon?
Who's on the far left?
Far
bottom?
left, it's a Bejike. The name is Bejike Samuel. That's the wife was.
And what, this was your wedding day?
That was my wedding day.
And that was where?
It was 46 September 15
Where was it?
in Tel Aviv. Okay. From left to right, it's me, Savta kids, mommy, and this in the middle is Ephraim, and then Abba, Saba.
When was this taken?
It was taken in 48
Where?
in Israel, Givatayim,
And where?
in Givatayim.
Okay.
From left to right, it's me, Savta. And in the middle is my brother, who lives in Winnipeg now. In 59, he arrived to Israel. We didn't know about him. He was joining the army. He was a volunteer. All of a sudden, one evening, he arrived. We were very happy to see him. And then my sister, Edith, who lives in Israel. So the three of us who survived from the whole family.
Do you remember when this was taken?
It was taken in 49.
Where? Do you remember where?
In Israel, in Givatayim. Okay, this is my sister Edith, who lives in Israel, and my brother Arnold Freeman, who lives in Winnipeg. And there is Saba. And there is Savta, kids. In the middle is Abba. Oh, Ephraim, look at how tired is he, he's crying.
Can you
I
tell me
love
when
you.
this was taken?
It was taken in 49 in Givat. This was taken in Ramat Gan, this picture.
How old was your son in that picture?
He was 9 months old. Okay, from left to right is Ephraim, my
Full name?
oldest son. And next to him is Odele, the youngest. These two, what I have, this is my whole.
Where was this
whole life.
taken?
It was taken in Givatayim.
When?
Oh, it must be if he was here about 8-year-old, I don't know. It must be taken in 45. No, what I'm talking about, in 55, 56. Okay. First one is Shalom ben Zalman. This is my grandfather. Shmuel ben Abraham. Ben Avram is my father. Gittel bat Sholem is my mother. Yosef ben Shmuel, my brother. Tov ben Shmuel, my brother. Yehudit bat Shmuel is my sister.
What is this?
That's all what I have left for me.
What are we looking at here?
That's on the grave, my father-in-law's grave.
Where is this
In
located?
Israel.
In Israel.
We put it on the marble top. This is my dear husband. I'm married 49 years, wir sind 20. And here is Eliko, my darling grandson, and Odella, my darling dear son, the youngest one, and the oldest one is Ephraim, my dear, and all of you dear for me. Jonathan, Katike, Michelle, and Daniela, the oldest grand. I am very proud of you all, and I love you all very much.
Okay. With this occasion, I would like to mention that 50 years ago, when I met as a British soldier my father in Dachau, I walked in there and I met him, and he was almost a skeleton that time. And I took him to Italy with a convoy of British trucks. In Salzburg, I saw a girl when we stopped to feed the people from the concentration camp. I saw a girl with an eye patch on one of her eyes, and she spoke Hungarian. And I asked her, "What happened to your eye?" So she told me that some dirt got into my eye. Anyway, a year later, when I came to being discharged from the British Army in Tel Aviv, I met her accidentally on the street on the beaches of Tel Aviv. And 3 months later, we got married.
I think I was the one who heard about this program to film Holocaust survivors, and I asked my mother if she'd be interested in doing this. Of course, she was a little bit reluctant at first because she knew how difficult it would be for her. But I'm very happy that she agreed to do this. And she did this not so much for herself as for the rest of her family, for her children and grandchildren and future generations of kids who will be able to look at this and say, this is our past. As difficult, as hard as it's been, it's important for us to know our past. And thank you, Ima.
You're welcome, darling. No, I did it. I am happy I did it, but it wasn't easy. I did it for you kids.
I was the first child in this family. I was born at the end of May 1948, and I felt very special. I felt special because I was never allowed to forget that I really was the rebirth of my family.
That's true. That's
I
true.
was born at the same time as Israel was. And pardon. And I grew up very proud. I grew up knowing that I was building a new country. I was building, pardon me, I was building from whatever the remnants were of our people, building a home. And
That's true.
until we came to Canada, I never felt out of place. Even though we live in Canada, we're happy, we are fortunate, I still long to go back, because that's where the Jewish nation was reborn, out of these ashes. I only had one grandparent. I knew him for a few years. He died in 1956. My grandfather, the grandfather that my father found alive in Dachau at the end of the war. I heard a lot about my other grandparents, and I'm named after one of them. I hope that this film will not just be a reminder to the Jewish people, but will be something that will keep alive this history. Because those who deny that it occurred are committing a monstrous crime, which is a crime on top of the one that was initially committed during the Holocaust. And this is not just for Jews, this is for the world at large, because if they forget what occurred, they will relive it. But as far as the Jewish people are concerned, this will never happen again.
This is my dear wife, Elizabeth. We have been married for almost half a century. Next year will be 50 years, happily. And we have two sons, Stephen and Oded. Stephen is a doctor and Oded is also a doctor. And they have 4 beautiful children, our grandchildren, Daniela, Jonathan, Michelle, and Elliot.
Most mit? Én mit mondjak? Most mondjam az én mondokámat? Okay. Now, what I really I forgot to mention in my tape,
Louder.
it was a case in our camp. 3 boys, they were actually in the lager too. They brought them over because the trial was in our camp, Lager 1. And but the whole thing what they did, that was their crime on a blanket they made for themselves to cover the pit. It was very bad winter, it was snowing. And they just make a piece of rock from it, and like a shoe. And that was their crime. So the trial was, by the end, they should be hanged. They hanged them on upper. Everybody should be there and see what they did. And the two boys was there from our city. They were Arvan, I don't know how to say, orphan. From home, they were about 13 or 14-year-old. When they hanged them, the last word was for them, Shema Israel. And about my mother, I wanted to go back. You asked me about my mother, what if she died? She belonged to somewhere. She was belonging to a group who was like a, how do you call it, Bikur Cholim. She was doing lots of mitzvahs. She was going to the hospitals and was feeding people. And what tzedakah was her life. Whatever I knew about tzedakah and to help people, I know that from her, that's it.
Who's in this picture, please, from left to right?
From this picture is my family picture at home in Hungary, approximately in the middle of 1940. It's taken in our living room, and the above, the picture on the left, very top, is my younger sister who lives now in Israel. She was lucky she didn't get into a concentration camp.
And what's her name?
Her name is Rachel Hirsch. And beside her is my older sister, that she was taken to Auschwitz with my mother and my nephew, my father, and my grandmother.
What's her name?
What?
What is her name?
Her name is Shari Samuel.
And she's the one that didn't come back.
She
Right.
didn't come back.
Okay, and who's in the bottom?
In the bottom is my mother, on the left-hand side of the picture. And beside my mother is my little nephew, Shari's son, and my father.
And the little boy also with his mother never returned.
Never returned. Yeah. But you are too close to the picture. Oh. I am on this picture. My name is David Samuel. This when I was about 14 years old, and I went to the gymnasium in Kolozsvár, Cluj. This picture is taken in Kolozsvár approximately at the end of 40 or the beginning of 1941. And on the right of the picture is my sister Sherry, that she perished in Auschwitz, and her little boy, Ephraim. Beside her is that little boy, my little nephew of mine. His name was Izzy Joseph. He didn't survive. And the next young lady is my sister Rachel, who lives in Israel now. Here I am on this picture. It was taken in 1944, about September, October, when I was in the British Army. But I was in a convalescent depot because I was coming out from a hospital, so I recuperated there.
Where were you? Where was this taken?
It was taken in Rimini. This is our wedding picture taken on the 15th of September 1946 in Tel Aviv.